2025 planning board meeting to order. The first thing that I need to do, in that we have two public hearings on the application, is I need to read everyone that's here what is a public hearing and specific rules and procedures for public hearings. I would appreciate if you would bear with me a little bit. My eyesight is not what it should be. I'm scheduled for cataract surgery and new glasses, so it makes it a little bit of a challenge sometimes to read things, but I will do the best that I can do. Well, yeah, if you would like to read.
Which one do you want to start with?
Start with the public hearing.
Okay. The public hearing. A public hearing is an essential legislative step for certain actions of the boards. These hearings are conducted to gather input from the public and interested parties, as well as to gauge public opinion as part of the local lawmaking or decision-making process. For the village board, a public hearing is required before voting on laws, ordinances, special permits, or budgets. Similarly, for the planning board or zoning board of appeals, it's a necessary step before decisions are made on applications or petitions brought before them. The public is encouraged to present their views, arguments, and ideas, either in support of or opposition to the issue at hand. Public comments are intended to provide the boards with valuable information to help inform their decisions. When possible, presenters are encouraged to include supporting documentation and provide a written copy of their comments for the board's reference. It is important to note that a public hearing is distinct from a public information meeting. Attendees are expected to be familiar with the issues and its background before arriving. The hearing is not the time for lengthy explanations of the topic or a recap of the steps leading up to the hearing. To ensure that all participants have an opportunity to speak, the board may set time limits for individual comments. Public hearings are intended to listen to public input, not to engage in debates or dialogues, either with the board or other members of the audience. This ensures that the meeting remains focused and provides equal opportunity for everyone to speak. While the presiding board is not obligated to share personal views or respond to questions during the hearing, they may choose to ask questions or request clarifications to better understand the points being made. The primary purpose of the public hearing is to collect and consider public viewpoints before making a decision. Okay, so specific rules and procedures for public hearings. Reading the public hearing notice. The chairperson will begin by reading the official public hearing notice. Opening statement, which is optional. The chairperson may choose to provide an opening statement summarizing the issues, concerns, and the process leading up to the hearing. Speaker sign-in. Individuals wishing to speak should sign in upon arrival. Speakers will generally be called in the order of signing in. However, the chairperson may adjust the order if certain testimony is deemed more beneficial when presented earlier or later. Respect and courtesy. The board will treat all attendees and their opinions with respect, and the public is expected to extend the same courtesy to the board and those with differing views. Topic relevance. Comments must be restricted to the specific subject of the public hearing as advertised. Addressing the board. All comments should be directed to the board, not to other audience members. Any specific requests or questions should be addressed to the chairperson. Time limit for comments. Each speaker will have 3 to 5 minutes to present their comments, depending on the number of individuals requesting to speak. Opportunity for additional comments. After all signed-in speakers have had their turn, the board will invite others who wish to speak to do so.
I will say that in regards to speaker signings, I do not know who may have signed in to speak or not. The way I plan on handling this is I will start on this side of the room with the first row and work my way to the back. And if you have the desire to speak before the board, I would ask you to raise your hand and announce who you are. In terms of time limitation, I don't want to have a time limitation. However, if the thing drags on and I hear the same information over and over again, then I will give you notice of 30 seconds and I will be asking you to stop speaking. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? With that said, I need a motion to reopen the public hearing. And I'm going to do the agenda a little bit out of order. I think that the majority of the people here, based on the previous public hearing, were here for the New York State Electric and Gas item on the agenda. So I'm going to do that one first. So I need a motion to reopen the public hearing on the New York State Electric and Gas application, which was tabled at our last meeting. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to reopen the public hearing for the NICEAG application.
Just to be clear, it was never closed, it was just, it was
Table.
continued on, so it's not a new public hearing, it's just a continued.
Right, it's to reopen the table. Yeah, okay. No, reopen is,
Reopen.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So then what I will do is ask the applicant to come up to the board and provide us an update on an update on the application.
Good evening. Thank you to the members of the board for meeting with us again regarding the application for 18 Fairview Avenue. On behalf of NICEAG, I just also wanted to thank those members that were able to come out to the site last week. I hope that it was able to provide some clarity and understanding to this application. Since our last meeting, NICEAG was able to make some design considerations to the substation, particularly in the form of the access that was recommended by the board, which will hopefully mitigate any future concerns for maintenance and emergency work on that pole structure in the back. So these changes did include the installation of a gated entrance to the expanded portion of the substation yard. Yep.
Can everybody hear the applicant?
No, if he could sit at one end of the table, perhaps then his voice could be heard.
Could we try that?
Yeah.
Okay, can we just sit that way and kind of point, face both us and the others?
Thank you.
Right here?
Yeah, that'd be perfectly fine. I think I apologize, but I do want to make sure the public can understand what's happening.
So I'll just start again based on the design changes that were made based on the recommendations from the board during the last meeting last month. So these changes included the installation of the gated entrance to the expanded portion of the yard. That's a dual gate, so one on the north and one on the south, to allow access to the rear of the station. I know that there was concern that, in the event of an emergency or ongoing maintenance, that there may not be an accessibility around the previously designed fence. So that was a big design change that we put in place. With that, the gates are 10-foot wide panels. So the extension of the footprint went out an additional 10 feet to allow for both of the 10-foot panels to swing. So it's essentially a 20-foot wide expansion there. Based on that, one of the requests from the board was to provide some actual measurements on site. So that was staked out since our last meeting. Pictures were taken and those were provided to the board. And they are attached at the back of the design modification letter that was submitted with the application materials. So that's the letter that has the photographs in the back. With that being said, the Some of the additional requests that were requested of the board was just to provide the date of the original substation, which was 1960, as well as add the updated drawings to show the equipment that was being installed within the expansion area. And that can be found on the document that's addressed simplified site plan. So that looks like this. So in that, we added a couple labels of the main equipment that is being installed within the substation, and those being 34.5 kV circuit breakers, 2 of them in total. And they're designed in such a way to make sure that there are clearances from all of the current existing substation equipment.
Now, we're not going to what?
What's that?
Repeat that? You're installing
2 circuit breakers.
and what have we done? Is it 34?
They're 34.5 kV circuit breakers.
2 circuit.
Yeah.
Is that the extent of what new is going in?
That is the extent, yes.
There's no pole.
They haven't been the pole, so that's the extent of what's going inside the substation. And then the new pole structure is being.
Existing pole is being
Yes.
replaced.
Yep. It's being
It's not really, it's new in terms of it's new from what currently exists, but it's not new in terms of it being, not having been in before.
Exactly, yes. Yep.
And is that the pole same size as the other?
The pole is going to be a height of 60 feet. The existing E-frame structure, so there's 2 wood pole structures out there that make up the existing pole structure. That's 50 feet currently. So yes, it is increasing by 10 feet, but we're also reducing it from essentially 2 poles down to 1 pole, so it narrows the overall width of that pole.
And you're eliminating the guide wires for the currently pole, existing, 2 poles.
Yes, that is correct. This will be a self-supporting structure, and it's a steel structure versus the current infrastructure is a wood pole design that's guide.
Yeah, you also provided to us a letter from the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation that there was no archaeological or historic sites, et cetera, within the work area of the project.
That is correct,
To
yes.
make sure that that was clear, that that had been included also. I also noticed on the plan there had been some discussion from the community about some sort of screening and vegetation aspect. I did notice on the plan that you had proposed some planting along the fence on what is the east side, where the new fence is, where the fence is being extended. And on
The west side is being extended.
right, and on the other side, some adjacent to what is the property of Brook.
Yep.
I look at that as a positive aspect in terms of addressing some of the concerns. I mentioned when I was up at the site, and we did have a site visit. When I was up at the site, I did mention the fact that arborvitae, which gives you an evergreen screen, are highly susceptible to deer damage.
That's correct.
And this is me speaking, my suggestion would be that if you're acceptable with it or okay with it, that there's 2 property owners that, from my visit, would be the site would be most visible. That is the adjacent neighbor that's Ripple and, I'm sorry, I think it's Williams or something, Washburn, that's across the street, whose their porch looks right on it. My suggestion would be is that NYSEC talk to those 2 particular property owners in terms of what they might be interested in terms of plants, recognizing there's height constraints, there's deer damage restraints. We're not talking about screening the facility. But just a little variation that might be something. If not, it shows on the plans what you're planning on doing.
Yes, yeah, we are cognizant of that and understand, that it's something we want to work with those budding neighbors on.
Does anybody on the board have any questions before I open it up to public hearing?
I have a question, or a couple questions actually. So I just want to be crystal clear that the equipment you're installing, breakers, does not increase the capacity for, like the transmission capacity. I don't know if I'm using the right language because I'm not an electrician, but it's not giving you future ability to increase the amount of power that is running through that substation.
So the technical jargon is not my expertise, but basically the circuit breakers are going to provide protection of the line, and therefore helping to improve the overall reliability within the network. It's not necessarily a capacity aspect, but it's a protection factor. It's similar to a circuit breaker that would be in your home, where it's protecting your home. The breakers are essentially protecting the substation and the line that goes.
I see another NYSEG representative.
Yeah, I'm our senior electrical engineer on the project, and the circuit breakers that we're installing are only capable of the line voltage itself. So we're not changing the line voltage, so we can only accommodate what that voltage runs through that station. So it doesn't allow us to increase the capacity of the line whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then the other question I have, and I believe this was also brought up by the community, but in the letter that you sent out to the surrounding properties, there was a couple of mentions of, in the regional benefits section about this is going to enable, future renewable generation development. The language indicates that this may be supporting a future project that would increase, NYSEG activity or additional power running through that area. Can that be clarified?
So as of right now, there is no future project planned for. As we know, that parcel, the usable space is fairly small. This is essentially, allows for the betterment of just the overall grid network itself. And there are future projects in other territories within the region that are all connected via that network. So it's a general reference to the overall regional network in itself. This is just one of those smaller localized plans within that larger development piece.
Okay, thank you.
And just for clarification, again, what we're talking about is basically circuit breakers and pole, that unit, that thing that they're on, and circuit breakers for this hilltop station are similar to the circuit breakers that you would have in your home. Basically, circuit breakers in your home protect your home. The circuit breaker there protects the system, which in a sense may also protect your home.
Correct.
Okay. I just clarify, there's no increase in electromagnetic field.
Yeah, that's correct. We're not installing any power transformers. We're not increasing the number of lines that are going into the station, which are probably your two biggest drivers for any increase in electromagnetic fields. So based on that, there's anticipated to be not a net increase in the EMF around the station.
One of the other questions that was brought up had to do with noise or the hum sound from the facility. Now, I've been up there twice, I did not notice any humming sounds at all. I heard cars and the train and birds and the wind blowing, but to be honest with you, I did not detect any humming sound. So I just wanted to point that aspect out because that was something that was brought up about the noise from the humming, and I did not detect any. I don't know. The other board members did other,
I just have one other question. So my last question, and this was, I think, brought up multiple times by various community members, is relating to screening. And I know that you've had in your, new plans to, do some vegetative screening on two sides. From being up there at the site, there really doesn't seem to be any way that you can do any screening on the street side. It's gravel, and I'm assuming you need a parking pad for anybody that is up there working.
Yep.
Even when you have the gate so that you can pull through to get to the back, there may be, other trucks that have to park temporarily in front. So I didn't see that there was any possible way to do any screening on the street. Also, the entire thing, exceeds the fence height. So any screening that was the height of the fence, you're still going to see anything above the fence. But I am curious, there were multiple comments about the chain link fence material and what if there was an alternative. And I just don't know if you have in any of your other sites done a different type of fence material that is not chain link that you can see through.
In terms of trying to reduce the overall impact of construction, as well as keeping costs to the least extent possible, which gets converted over to the ratepayers eventually. We were trying to limit the extent of the fence impact, which is why it was designed to be in kind to the existing fence that's out there. That's in the material as well as the height of the existing fence. We have done other fence materials for full substation upgrade projects. This is not one of those full substation upgrades. This is just a small minor expansion for a couple breakers that were put into the substation. So that's why that was not included as part of the design.
One of the other things which I was going to mention was that there had also been public comment about, at times, nice access private property and come around the side and damage somebody's lawn. And with this new layout, and the gates on one side so they can get access to the back, that should never be a problem again.
That's correct. That's why it was designed with a 20-foot wide access to accommodate the line truck equipment or any other medium voltage equipment that would need to come in to access that structure.
Do you have
Well,
any more questions, Jen?
when we were there, we had discussed the possibility of some landscaping, low landscaping in the front. On the left side, when you're facing the substation, we had talked about that possibility. I don't know if you got that message.
I did not get that message.
I think that we know we can't go high.
I think that leads it up with what my comment was earlier. They intend on doing some landscaping on site. It initially indicated where the areas were. They're not doing anything on the front of the site. It's on the side and the back. And nice, like I said, to suggest it, can talk to those two property owners and see some adjustments or modifications. In terms of that, it is what it is. I mean, it's a facility that's been up there since the 60s. It's a facility that has a fence around it for the protection of both the residents and anyone else who might be in the area. Sometimes you have to be careful when you do, and this is my experience from other projects that I've been on when I worked in the York State Department of Transportation. Sometimes you have to be careful about trying to screen or buffer something that you don't create a situation where people can be there doing something and you don't see them there. I mean, there's plenty of signs that tell all this not to go in there, stay away, and whatever else, but things are what they are. I
I have a question too. Just a minute ago, your colleague just distinguished between the line capacity and the breaker capacity. So what's the line capacity serving that station right now?
34.5. No KV ratings are going to be changed. The existing line is staying 34.5. And
The
that's it.
existing line is
Yes, the existing line up there feeding both subs 34.5.
So you're just replacing that same 34.5 breaker?
So we're installing 2 breakers. Those breakers are only capable of running up to 34.5 kV at any time.
So the total capacity doesn't go up to 69,
No,
these are linear breakers on one?
correct. It's not a combined system.
It's a parallel.
Correct, right? So each breaker runs at 34.5 only and can't go any higher. So we wouldn't be installing these breakers if we planned on upping the KV of that line, just due to the cost of these, right? They're expensive pieces of equipment. We wouldn't be installing lower KV ratings if we wanted to up that line.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions by anyone at the table? What I'd like to do then, starting on this side of the room, starting with the first row, if you would like to speak, just raise your hand and then we'll address you in terms of making your comments. If not, we'll move on to the second row, the third row to the end, and I'll come back over to this side. So starting with the lady in the white sweater. I need you to state your name too, please.
My name is Dina Beer.
We're going back a second. I'm sorry, did you hear what that was? Could you?
Dina Beer.
Thank you.
So if I'm to understand it, it's impossible to plant any kind of vegetation on the north side, the front-facing part of the substation, because it would obstruct parking, visual access to the substation. I'm trying to figure out, I haven't actually spent a winter in my 9 Fairview Avenue house yet, so I'm not sure how much vegetation is left in front of the property where I live. But there is a direct line of sight to that substation. So if there's any accommodations to be made for vegetation as a buffer zone between my house and the substation, that would be wonderful. But of course, Jay and Mark across the street also have direct line of sight. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Christ. I live at 5 Fairview Avenue, and I have a bunch of questions. Forgive me, I think.
Well, let me just remind you that the board will not be answering questions, but we're interested in listening to your comments.
Yeah, for my questions, like I said. It's been a little frustrating, and I'm sorry if I'm going to ask questions that have already been answered, because the documents for this project have not been posted online. So, and I don't understand why. And the comments also that have been made by me and my neighbors aren't online, so I don't know if I'm duplicating comments as well. And it's my understanding that under the New York State Open Meetings Law, if the village has a website and you update it regularly and you have a high-speed internet connection, that these documents should be placed online. But putting that to one side, the pole height, when I read the documents, it was supposed to be about 22 feet, and now I'm hearing 60. Is there going to be a double pole in effect? Are you going to keep the existing pole and put the new one next to it for a certain amount of time, or are you just going to install a 60-foot pole?
Again, we will not be answering comments.
Okay.
I would encourage you, as anyone else, if you haven't come to the village office to look at the documents, I think you would find that your question was answered.
It's very hard for me because I work during the day to come to the Village Hall, and I'm also going back and forth between New York City and here, so I really don't have the time to come and look in the folder. And I did submit questions for the first public hearing. I did not receive any answers to any of those questions. I received a pro forma paragraph response from NICEAG, and I was told that the questions would be answered at the meeting by the village clerk and the building inspector. So my next question is, I know NICEAG said that it was going to minimize pruning and removal of the existing vegetation, but has the village asked them for assurances that they won't remove any trees, because there are some old trees on the site that we would hate to see removed for this. And then the Gauss readings, I had heard that
Could you repeat that? I didn't understand what you said.
the Gauss readings, I was told that following the last meeting, that there were going to be Gauss readings taken of the electromagnetic field that is generated by the substation. So has NICEAG or the village to have a third party come in to measure those readings? I noticed that in the project that was proposed for all of Columbia County, the Public Service Commission itself recommended that this substation be moved further north in order to protect the residents from voltage, from exposure to voltage. So NICEAG rejected that, but I'm still concerned about exposure to EMF. I myself wear 2 medical devices that can be affected by EMF, and I'd like to know what the levels are that are being generated by that station. My other concern is fire. I've had to contact NICEAG because its vegetation management department was not maintaining the area north of Fairview Avenue during the summer, where there were really extreme fires in California because of, the extreme heat that we were having. They did come finally and take care of that vegetation management, but if there is a fire at that substation, there is no solid wall, there is no vegetation buffer, there is no proper drainage on the street because the existing drainage ditch does not function, and it hasn't functioned. All the water goes into the street. I'm also concerned about the street itself because there's very limited accessibility to the street. If we were to have a fire, there's no access
That
on our
question is
side.
really not related to the subject. Okay, the subject is the substation,
Well, I'd
not
like to
the
differ.
street and the fire.
If there is a fire at the substation,
I can speak to that too a little. The board doesn't have any jurisdiction over, there's an existing facility there, which is not before this board. That's an ongoing thing. We're only looking at the new work. We don't have any authority over what's already there. We're only looking at what new things they're going to do. So we're not, there's nothing in transport about moving this substation or relocating it. We don't really, it's just out of our purview. There is an existing thing that's been there for 65 years. They are changing the breakers, and that's the full scope of what we're authorized to look at here. So,
yeah, but my understanding is that you have the ability to place conditions on the upgrade, and
But
it
only-
hasn't been upgraded
yes, but
in
only,
60
but
years.
yes, but
So
we
I'm
do.
concerned about fire.
We do have, yes, the board has authority to impose conditions, but they related to the work and the things that are going to be done to mitigate any potential adverse impacts that arise from what is being done, not what is already there. There is, from what they are saying, there is no increase in any capacity. They're not creating new electromagnetic impacts. In fact, they are maintaining the same level of capacity, the same capacity throughout. And they said at the early meeting that it's if anything, like with more modern technology, would actually tend to reduce these things. We don't have any evidence of anything that is being proposed at this point that would cause or increase any of the things that are being raised. So the fact that there's already, that's all we can look at is what they are proposing to do, not what they have got there.
But isn't this a non-conforming use and hasn't it?
No, it's a
always been
special
non-conforming?
use.
Yeah, but it's getting a special use permit because it's a non-conforming use. So it does not, it's never complied, with the zoning code.
But they
So
have a right to
Isn't this an
do,
opportunity to make it safer and to ensure residents that they're not being exposed
They-
to high levels of EMF?
they have an ongoing right to do what they're already doing.
Just for the terms, the substation is located in the village, they're required to zoning in the village.
They wrote that?
Okay, so, just so people understand that substation was constructed because they're required to zoning in the village of Chatham. In regards to the aspect about fire, and I want to ask the applicant, I'm not trying to answer your question, I asked the applicant. One of the things that we talked about, because there was a discussion about, concern about fire, is that all of the new area that's being made as part of this is having crushed stone put underneath it, so there's not fire-tight material. Now, the one interesting thing, which is kind of a little bit of a conflict, and I'll point this to you, is vegetation close to the facility may create more of a fire hazard than further away from the facility. So it's kind of like but I would go back to what I said before. I leave that up to you in terms of your concern about this location serving the aspect of visibility, but also the aspect of what the board is also concerned, as well as has been brought up to the board about fire. But it is all gravel, there's no...
Yes, that's correct. It is an all gravel station, including the expanded area. And the new equipment that's going in has been situated in such a way that it meets all of the engineering design standards for clearances away from additional equipment that already exists. So to reduce that overall impact of, in case of a catastrophic failure, it's not going to impact an adjacent piece of equipment.
You have more questions, ma'am?
My last question is about the time that this is going to take. We were told 6 months, but has the village required a definite deadline? Because, some of the properties on Fairview are used for rental, and if this goes beyond May, the end of May, then that is going to impact, full use of our property. So is there an actual deadline that's been set for the completion of the project?
Appreciate your saying that. Any other questions in that row? The row behind?
So,
Oh,
we are,
wait a minute. Who's going to speak? And please announce your name.
Please stand up.
Yes, you can be the next one. You're
So-
in the next row.
we are here to help and answer the questions. If you allow us, if you want us to answer, we can try to answer the questions. So, for example, in regards to the timing, we are supposed, we've been trying to start as soon as possible. We are here to try to start as soon as possible. We are here to try to solve your questions and solve the situation. So the sooner we start, the sooner we will finish. So the idea is that, 6 months is a good time. We expect to finish sooner than 6 months. If we get the approval this week, we will start next week. As we said in the previous meeting, we have a contractor, we have equipment, we have materials, we are ready to start on Monday and finish as soon as possible. Probably less than 6 months.
Okay, so what you've confirmed is what the information was that was in the application, and approximately 6 months is what the construction period will be. Okay, that's fine.
Going to the fire, Usually, if there is a fire in the station, even firefighters don't get into the station. It's dangerous. Electrical equipment shouldn't be for firefighters. They are supposed to be protecting the surroundings of the stations. And as Eric and we were saying before, we are trying to keep all the IEEE clearance required. So with this expansion, we are even making it safer because we are making more space to the adjacent property and to the adjacent vegetation. We are, as you were saying, everything is gravel, everything is stone. We are trying to isolate as much as possible all the electrical equipment, so if there is a fire, that will be isolated and it will be easier. With this new access, it will be even easier to access to the station if it's needed for a fire. But as I was saying before, if there is a fire, we should just focus on the surroundings and in the station. Additionally, you were asking about the fence. The chain link is the best fence in case there is a fire. We usually believe that's safer. We don't want to protect it with any kind of vinyl or any kind of plastic or any kind of wood because that would be even more dangerous. So vinyl, chain link is the best for this option. Also, of course, it's cheaper than any other kind of solution. And well, of course, we are maybe in some stations, some cities, we are using concrete walls, but those are much horrible, I would say, to see a huge wall, big wall in the station, and they are very, very, very expensive. So I believe the chain link is the cheapest, the safer, and the best solution, not just for the station, but for taxpayers, nice and big payers.
You are not to be answering questions from the public. You're sort of directing everything to the board. And
Do I
I
have any
appreciate it.
questions to the board?
When I come back, I'll give you the opportunity after I've gone through the rest of the room.
You were also asking about the IMF.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So yes, as we said also in previous meeting, we are saying today we are not increasing any capacity, we are not even installing electrical equipment. We are installing breakers, which are just
Okay, you're
springs.
repeating what we already
Yes,
heard.
and it's just to make sure we are not installing any electrical equipment, we are not executing any Gauss test to verify because we understand that the situation is the same as it is now. We are even installing more modern equipment which is better insulated, is better manufactured. We are installing a new conductor which is better insulated. We are installing a metal structure, structure which is much better than the wood poles. And we are not installing guys which are dangerous for the passing.
Thank you.
I believe those were all.
Could you repeat your name?
My mind Figueroa.
Thank you. Anyone else in that row? Is there anybody behind? Wait, hold on, excuse me.
To just add to what Mara said, my name is Sheikh Malik Ruki. So the essence of a project is to provide maintenance, reliability for the transformer in there. So the breakers there are providing protection for the transformer and the associated equipment in the station. So that's the main driver for this project. And we did hear all the concerns and also relay that back. There could be a bigger project if possible that could address that concern in the future. But for this project, it's simply just to protect what we have out there right now.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, these last two speakers are from NYSEG. They're not just here as members of the public, they're part of the applicant.
Yes,
I mean, that's one thing.
I understand that. Coming over here to this side. Anyone in the second row who would like to speak, have a question? Anyone in the third row? Or maybe fourth row, I can't tell which number that is back there. And there's a third row, excuse me. Anybody in the third row? Anyone in the fourth row? Anyone along the side of the wall? I will come back to you again, ma'am. You said you had another question, another point you wanted to make?
Yeah, the fence. I mean, is there any possibility that it could be a solid metal fence? I mean, the station really is an eyesore, and, you know, if it's being upgraded and, you know, the property owners on Fairview are being asked to tolerate this facility to benefit the community, we'd like some kind of like the village to consider requiring NYSEG to do like take substantial steps to mitigate the visual impact of this thing on the surrounding homes. I don't see how chain link fence could then aspire. From what I read, solid fence and vegetation buffering will slow the fire down. Some of my neighbors look directly at this thing. If NYSEG can't put vegetation in front of the station, maybe they can put it across the street so that the homeowner doesn't have to stare directly into the substation.
Are there any other comments or questions? Or comments, I should say, not questions. Comments of information we have not already heard? Yes.
Jay Ripple, I live at 830. 35 years ago, I bought my house. The substation was there. I knew it was there when I bought the house. And everything that went along with it. Did my research, and I bought my house. The substation is still there. And as I said last week, in the 35 years I've been there, there haven't been any upgrades. I'm happy to see something happening now that's going to benefit us and keep the power flowing. Because those of us who have been here a while have noticed an increase in power outages on the hill for a long time. We had none. And there have been more in the last 2 years than there have been in 35 years. So they need to install some breakers. I'm happy to see what's going on. Do I want anything more? No. My neighbors feel otherwise? Okay. But I knew the property was there next door to me, that was a selling point because I knew nobody was going to build right next door to me. And I have to live at the substation for the rest of my life. That's all I have. Thank you.
I make one more comment.
There's a gentleman behind you, and I'll come back to you.
Just in regards to the metal fence, that would increase the cost in a big number. That would execute or mandate us to execute bigger foundations, really big foundations, which would represent more spoils, more noise, more equipment in the area. And the most important thing is that we are just working the existing fence in the existing substation, which is the existing situation, and we are not working the existing situation. And we've said it very many times, we will try to plan and improve the vegetation as much as neighbors request and as much as we can.
As much as the planning board agrees. Thank you. Any other? Okay, back to you.
The gas levels, Jay, did you measure the gas levels when you moved in? We don't know what the current ones are, so we have no idea, whether or not we're being exposed to EMF. So I'd like to know.
We should think that before you bought out right now.
Let's not, wait, don't engage, guys, we don't engage the app. We speak to the board, we don't get engaged in the person-to-person debate or these meetings, sorry. But everyone speak to the chair and the table,
I think we've pretty much closed out the information we can gather from the public. Some of this has been repeated again. I don't really heard anything new after a little while. So I'd like a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public
No.
we were just discussing things.
There is one thing that was brought up during the public input that does have to be looked into, and that was the comments about the putting information online in the website. And that is something that needs to be confirmed as to whether that is a requirement of the village to do that. I don't want to end up in a case of making a determination or decision on an application if there is some outstanding legal requirement that could upset the decision or require the board to come back and redo the decision. What I'm proposing is that we table this application again. And I do this with some hesitation, but I do believe in the legal process, that we table this application again, allow our attorney to determine whether in fact the village was in compliance with the requirements of public information to be submitted to the public by the means that was talked about, and that we, I expect that we'll have an information to confirm this, and if in fact it's something that's being confirmed, that the village will in fact comply with it, if it needs to be complied with, and that we will address this application at our next meeting.
I just want to add to that, there are just some, we want to make sure all the procedural things are done completely and thoroughly. With the website thing, there is a feasibility aspect of it, some which, given the personnel, we have to look at whether that's really applicable. But just generally, we want to make sure that all procedural things, wherever things were raised, we want to make sure everything is done until conformity, so we don't have any issues. So yeah, we recommend we just keep the hearing open and the full application open until next month, so we can make sure that we have addressed everything appropriately.
So do I have a motion that we,
So I'll make a motion to table the public hearing for the NICEAG application and table the application until the next meeting.
all in favor? Thank you. We'll see many of you at the next meeting. We appreciate your input in terms of this topic. Okay, I
Make a motion to
reopen the public.
reopen the public hearing for Zach Coleman, 116 Hudson Ave.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The applicant is here.
I thought you were leaving.
Would you please, just for the benefit of those who may be in attendance as well as the board, just do a quick refresher as to what this application entails?
This application entails the addition of a warehouse structure on 16 Hudson Avenue. It's our family bakery, and we are a little bit out of space and moved some of our operations outside into the warehouse space, and we'd like to build a accessory structure and house anything that's outside, inside, so we're buttoning things up. And that's in our rear yard, which is a substantial lot in the back.
I will mention for the benefit of those who are here, who may not have been here at the last meeting, there were some issues that were brought up by adjacent neighbors and people in the community. Most of those issues are what we kind of view as housekeeping issues. If you have squirrels that are eating bagels, or you have dead tree limbs, that's really not associated with the particular application. I do believe that the applicant made note of what the concerns were. The condition of the fence was one, the aspect of wanting a new fence in another location was one. The applicant made note of these concerns that, and one had to do about lights. Most of the concerns, like I said, really not relevant to the aspect of the application, but certainly they were relevant to the adjacent neighbors. The applicant did write this information down. It's my understanding he may have spoken to some of those people. But again, that is not truly relevant to the application we're looking at, which is the construction of a warehouse associated with our daily bread. It's associated things that go along with the warehouse. And to make it clear for everybody, the warehouse and the work associated with it are all in keeping with the village zoning. There are no variances required in order to do this application. Any board members have any questions for the applicant?
No, I think he answered everything that we had requested.
I'm going to make a little exception. It's not a public hearing, but if there's someone in the...
It is,
excuse me, it is a public hearing. Forgive me, I'm sorry. Sorry if I'm wrong there. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to make a point of information to the board, we would appreciate it. I see no one raising their hand. I then am prepared to make a motion if that's acceptable to the board.
Yes.
So, yeah. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for applicant Zeb Cohen, 116 Hudson Ave.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then I'm prepared to make the motion regarding this application. The Village of Chatham Planning Board approves of application 2024-229, tax map number 66.13-2-43 at 116 Hudson Avenue, Chatham, New York, for the construction of a 40 by 68 warehouse and associated site work to be used in conjunction with the existing Our Daily Bread bakery. The approval is based on the following. Application for building and use permit dated 10/2/24, signed by Z. Cohen, warehouse Z. Cohen. Application for site plan review signed by Z. Cohen. And in those two, the size of the warehouse was corrected from originally shown from 40 to 68. Shown to show that the building was actually 40 by 68. Short environmental assessment form dated 10/2/24, signed by Z. Cohen. It has been determined the project is to be exempt from secret type 2 as the new structure is less than 4,000 square feet. The three-page double-spaced response to the application checklist dated August 1st, 2025, along with a picture of the proposed warehouse and stormwater management. A picture of the proposed warehouse. The site plan and stormwater management plan labeled Our Daily Bread Expansion dated August 22nd, 2025, signed by Michael Rowland. The drawing labeled Rain Garden section dated August 22nd, 2025. Site plan labeled Warehouse Addition to Our Daily Bread dated August 1st, 2025. And with the following conditions. All existing elements, coolers, freezers, storage units, etc., located along the north side or nearby the existing building shall be removed from the site or relocated within the proposed warehouse. There shall be no future outside storage of any nature, temporary or permanent, associated with this application. Do I have a second to that motion? Is there any questions or comments from the board? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. The next thing on the agenda, which is new business, is the applicant is, I'm going to butcher some of these names. Thad Aschenberger? Thad, excuse me. Thad Aschenberger and Judy Hartford. Property owners of 38 Main Street, Chatham, New York. This is an historic review and site plan for change of use. And it involves removal of fence, landscaping, addition of bluestone patio, lattice area for plans for retail space on the first floor. The remaining building remains as offices. Signage will be done in a separate application. The applicant will work for us. Thank you. So with that said, what would appreciate telling us what you're doing. We have the paperwork that you submitted.
Well, a brief overview is, we just walked up in the White House, down to 2 doors down from the Crandall. For the last few years, it's been a lawyer's office. And before that, I believe it was a lawyer's office and retail establishment for a while. But it looks like a private home. And in the middle of the business district, that's off. I have some pictures in the back of this. This application that I sent you, there are pictures showing that it's a charming little building, a kind of private road. But in the middle of the business district, it just doesn't fit the way it is. And it sits back. I've got grass, bushes, hosta vine, and this sturdy metal fence across the front, all of which tends to keep people from wanting to walk into it. You walk by it. And that's fine for a lawyer's office, but not for a retail establishment. Judy wants to put her boutique, the Red Mannequin, on the first floor. We're setting up to do that. And in order to do that, it's good to have the access to the front windows. We don't want to change the building. We're not applying for anything to change the building. We want to change the landscaping in the very front of it. So let's see. I have pictures here toward the end of the application. Yours, I believe, is in color. And somewhere early on, I have the site plans. There's one for the overall lot, most of which we're not affecting at all. And then a couple of, on figure 2, page 5, I changed that. But this figure, the top, shows the way, pretty much the way it is now, with bushes and hosta and tree and all that. And we want to just clear that out and clear out the grass, the hosta, and the bushes, and put in a small bluestone patio made of 2-inch bluestone irregular tiles. These would be at the same level as the walkway that goes down the front. The front yard is already level by a previous owner, so we don't have to deal with that. There's a slight dip in the walk, so we'll have to raise it to make sure handicap access. There's about a 2-inch lip from the front stoop. We just raised did you? Okay. We raised the walkway. It will be imperceptible, 2 inches and about 18 feet. So that's the plan, to get rid of all or most of that fence, which is a barrier. Apparently, we were just told recently that previous owners put that barrier in because dogs were making use of it, and they had to keep cleaning out the dog poop. They put that barrier to keep the dogs out. Apparently there is some difficulty with that, putting the fence in. We hope there won't be any taking it out. So that's the overview. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to add is that I've been on the street for 5 years operating Red Mannequin, and the amount of enthusiasm that I've gotten with the sign in my window that we're moving and the word getting out has been overwhelming. Just merchants on the street saying that they're desperate for more retail. Customers of mine excited, people saying they love that building forever, and it's so great that something is going in there that's going to be an active part of the community. So from my perspective, it's a win-win. The location is great, the accessibility is great, and the support from the town has been really, truly gratifying.
Let me just add to one of the things you talked about, with the fence in front of the building. Okay. That fence, the stone pillars on the corners, and the fence in between have been there since that building was built, which goes back to the 1850s.
Wow.
The previous owner, who you purchased the property from, came before the planning board approximately 20 years ago with the same request you have, to remove the fence and the posts. The planning board at that time denied that request, but allowed the applicant to upgrade, or upgrade is the right word, to put in a different metal fence between the posts than what was originally there. Our review is basically an historic review. That fence and those posts have been there and are associated with that house and have been there for years and years and years. I want you to know that. I've never heard anything about dogs going on the lawn, or anything else.
I wasn't sure about that.
Okay. And I've seen pictures. I couldn't find one tonight. I looked through the stuff I have. I've seen pictures of that fence in front of that building, like I said, going back basically to when the house was built, and the house was built in the 1850s or 60s. I was able to find that. So I just wanted to give you that information that I was aware of.
That's not the information we were given.
Well, the information regarding which?
The fence.
Okay, well, I didn't talk, I was on the board at the time when they applied. Okay.
Okay.
And it was a rather lengthy, not the nicest meetings, because of their insistence on wanting to remove it, and the board's recognition that it was a historic element associated with that structure, and that's an important aspect to this village in terms of its historic overzone. So I just wanted you to be aware of that as to where the information came from. Do any of the board members have?
Yes, I have, my question was actually relating to the age of the fence. I have not lived here as long as Francis has. But I have always just assumed that that fence had some sort of historical significance because, one, it looks old, and, it looks like it belongs to that house. So I was curious about the age of it, if we knew the age of it, the history of it, and if there were any historical photos documenting the existence of, a fence or similar fence in that exact position. Now, so I don't know, obviously they were not presented to us tonight, but I would like to see if that information exists. As for the landscaping on the other side of the fence, I don't have any issue with changing what's on the surface of the ground, whether it's stone or grass, that doesn't matter to me personally, but I think the fence is an element that is of historical significance, unless you can prove that it's otherwise, but that's the way I'm looking at it. So.
The photo that I saw, which was approximately 20 years ago, was when Lobello's was down in the Chatham Plaza, and they had a wall of historic pictures.
So the photo must exist somewhere. Are we able to, I don't know, do we have an archive of planning board decisions that date back 20 years? That we can pull that decision?
Yeah. I just...
If this fence has come before the planning board before, I would like to see reference that.
I was on the board then.
Well, I know, but that you're just telling me your memory. I would like to see the written documentation of the decision making.
Let me just go over a few of the questions I had in relation to your responses to the site plan. Okay, you said grading and drainage, no change the front yard to the left of the entrance wall. You're not, what about the right side?
the whole front has been leveled. And we don't want to, we're going to leave the grass and bushes on the right side. We want to get rid of the flora on the left, except perhaps the tree. The tree is a problem because it's dying. We think we can save it. We'd like to.
Okay, the tree's not dying. It's a crab apple, and older crab apple varieties have a tendency to get a leaf issue years when the weather was certain. My apples and my crab apples in my yard have dropped a lot of their leaves. My neighbors has lost all its leaves. So I do not believe that's the case. But anyway.
Yeah, what I was responding to was somebody telling me it keeps losing big branches. And one has to be sawed off now, and we hope that that can be saved. But I hope you're right, because I'd like to save the thing.
So you'd like to save the tree, but, so basically, from the edge of the property line to the walkway in front of the bay window of the building is what you want to convert from grass to bluestone, bluestone patio. And you would be removing a hedge in front of the house.
Okay, the next question I had down here was, you have down the entire presentation looks out of place. You know, landscape keeps the general public at a distance. Now, what I would say is, this is a house that was built on Main Street many, many years ago. It's a house that over the years has had different uses to it. The vast majority of the people know of that particular building because of the fact it's unique, it's a remaining building in the historic overzone, and the appearance of the yard is in keeping with what the structure is. It's a remaining residence.
It is not, it's only commercially zoned now. Did you know that?
I know it's commercially zoned, and it's not saying the use can't be commercial. I mean, I looked at Railroad Avenue, and there's a number of structures on Railroad Avenue that have previously been homes, that are set back, that have lawns in front, which is really no different than what we have in this particular case. Your explanation as to why it's out of place is because it's not in keeping with the rest of the buildings on Main Street?
Actually, I would change that statement from my point of view and say that that our intention is to keep it looking like it has, and I've had my eye on it for 5 years because I think it's so perfect for retail and has been used. It was addressed.
It was addressed. My wife even said that to me. When I told her that this is what was going in there, she goes, there used to be a dress shop in there.
I personally, if anybody knows my store, well, you did a little bit, right? You've been in my store. I'm very happy having something that looks different from everything else, that is historically preserved and beautiful, and has its own personality. What I want to do is make it more accessible to the public.
See, I totally agree with you what you're saying. Is it a good business person, and I believe that's what you are, would take advantage of something that's unique on Main Street so that all your customers would say, oh, it's the White House. And they would know right off the bat where that is. Okay.
I don't think that the fence, first of all, is historic, but also, I don't think that keeps people from going in. It's what you're going to do with the shop and the windows and how you're going to display, it's what's going to draw people in. And yeah, I don't think the fence and the fact, I don't think that's going to be a deterrent.
I mean, and then another one you put down, bushes and shrubbery. The current landscaping discourages potential customers from approaching the building and the front windows. Now, well, you end up in a case, because of the nature of the building, people don't come to the front windows. They come to the front door. Now, when I looked at that, and I was up today looking at it, I noticed that on the...
I saw you outside.
Oh, okay.
I was upstairs. price tag.
I noticed that when you come in the front walk, on either side of the walk, there's a blue stone section. Now, to me, from a point of view of advertising your business besides the sign, that a sandwich board out there in one of those little areas on the side, and maybe even a rack that might have a dress or two on it, particularly a red dress,
How about a red mannequin?
or a red mannequin, would be something that would attract the person there to come into the building. They're not going to walk over to the window.
Well, so imagine this for a moment. Imagine this. Imagine that those bushes that are in front of the window are removed, and there are flower boxes with seasonal plantings in the flower boxes instead of bushes that really do prevent people from getting up close.
Do you really think that people are going to...
Yes, people go and look in the.
Before you get too far down this road, I'm not sure that the landscaping and flora comes within the purview.
It's the character and setting of the... It's the character and setting.
But I don't, but that's...
It has always historically, it happened with this application, the last time we looked at it. Matter of fact, the shrubs and bushes and stuff that are there are a result of the original submittal that was done previous to this submittal.
Yeah, but the issue with
That's not like the
landscaping
different-
and shrubs is that they die and they have to be replaced anyway.
I don't think they were part of this historical review.
Yeah.
I differ with you. I believe it's in the
I
character
think we
and
need
setting.
to,
Okay, but let's...
we need to verify if that is something that is in our purview, because I also agree that I just don't think that the shrubs,
If you want me to believe that an historic structure, that the landscaping around a historic structure isn't a aspect of the character and setting of that structure,
I'm just looking at what, I want to see what's in the code about what your scope of view is. I'm not,
because what if the shrubs die and they just choose not to replace them? Then the shrubs are gone, then there's no shrubs.
if the shrubs, if vegetation or landscaping is planted in accordance with a site plan review, the zoning says if it dies, it has to be.
Okay, so I think we really can't continue down this road without reviewing the previous decision that was made about this property, because we just can't base it on board memory. We need to have the actual decision in front of us, so that we know what, if it was part of the previous decision, then that makes sense. But if it was not part of the previous decision, then, it's up for debate. Does that make sense?
Those bushes actually right now are very unhappy.
So, I think we need more information. I think we need the previous decision from 20 years ago as a reference point, and we need some historical images as well of the property as a reference. So I think we should table this.
Well, I still have more questions about what was submitted,
Okay.
so I'll get clarification. On the drawings, the photos you had,
Yes.
well, actually, let me go back to the site plan, because there was one thing in the site plan I couldn't understand.
Did it myself, I'm not surprised.
What is, when I look at what you're proposing, okay,
Okay, it's this one. Yeah, okay.
here's a big bush here,
Yeah.
which is a yew, an evergreen yew that's there. When I look at what you show for proposed, it's it's about a third of what we
Yes, we'd like to have that cut back so it doesn't encroach so much on the lawn. And we talked to the neighbor who,
Oh, Brian.
Brian, it's actually on his property. And.
Well, it doesn't show up, when I look at the site plan here,
This
leaves
is
me
an
to lose.
easement, I believe. And that part. And I just, one thing, I'm not sure. I think that post over there is actually on their property, or they have the easement, I'm not really clear about that.
Well, you have the survey, right?
I have something, I'll see what I have.
Well, okay, I mean, if we table this, we can address it.
Okay.
But it's important to know what you're doing here and where where the property line is. Okay?
Yeah.
And we can't authorize something that's not on your property. The other question I had is, what is this thing here that says 8 feet? What's happening there?
Oh, is that the trellis you want to put up?
Uh,
I can't, my copy
let me
is
see
not
what you-
very.
Right here.
Oh, 8 feet.
What is that?
Oh, you can see that.
It's a distance probably from the bush.
Oh, okay. The trellis, I'm asking to come 8 feet out from the corner of the house.
8 feet.
What's the purpose of the trellis?
To block the
side of the
neighbor's garage.
These garbage cans were all inside that tunnel when I was there.
There, it's,
Yeah, but they were all inside the tunnel, they weren't.
they haven't always been. When I took the photograph there, the garbage can and the, it's a
Barbecue.
barbecue, yeah. They leave stuff out there. It's their backyard, and and it just shows. So the only purpose of the trellis is to block that off.
And that's in the back or the front?
On the side, on the pub side.
But it's in the front,
Right
the front
between the
yard,
house and the pub. It would be 6 feet
adjacent
long.
to the front, to your front yard.
I suggested that board members go on and look at that, because there was nothing there, and I couldn't understand where you were putting this
I
trellis.
understand though what your location is now.
Because, here's the trellis you show, and it doesn't show, it shows,
No, that's a different, that's not.
That's a different trellis. That's just to show what it's like.
Show it.
I've got an example over here too, but it's very dirty.
okay.
I think we all know what a trellis is.
Yeah. Well, it's a white vinyl trellis, right? Is that what you're planning?
Well, no, it's
It's
wood.
lattice. It's lattice.
Yeah. How do you plan on securing it? You putting posts on it? Well, all right, you would have to show a detail for that.
Okay.
There's some points that I was going to make, and I think for the most part, I probably addressed them. I have a real concern with this application. I truly think that the landscaping, the lawn, the use of stone in the front changes the whole setting of that particular property. Well, I understand that, okay. You end up in a case, you basically are removing, and it's hard to tell, because right now the lawn comes out like this. I can't even tell from here what's going to be stone and what isn't going to be stone. One place talks about stone under the tree, but if I look at this, I don't get the feeling of stone is going under the tree.
Well, part of the reason why that's vague is because in order to really see what the property is asking for, certain things have to be removed. Right now, it is not appealing.
Well, that's
It's
your,
not appealing.
to me, and again, this is where I would differ. To me, it's a residence that's being, it's a house that's being used for commercial use. It's had commercial uses in it before. The visual appearance is crucial to the fact that that's a house. Not like a storefront on the rest of Main Street. Removal of all that basically destroys the fact that this is a house that was on Main Street. It becomes a paved area in front.
That's not the vision that we have.
Well, I understand your vision, but you end up in a case, what you're telling me is you're pretty much going to pave that whole side.
Don't say paved, because that implies concrete.
Right.
Yeah, it's stone.
Stone is, yeah, but stone is different.
I'm sorry.
And it's the
That you're
same,
gonna-
the same slate that's around the side, so it continues that slate.
What is the walkway currently made of?
A big square.
Oh, it's bluestone, okay, so you're using the same material as the walkway.
And there's a patio in back made of bluestone as well.
Well, we're not really, the back of the building isn't really an issue for us, because it's not
No, but
visible.
it does show what we're thinking.
Okay,
So let me ask you this question. If your interest is for people to look in the window, and I'm throwing out something I shouldn't be doing, that I'm supposed to be looking at your proposal and that's, is, what if you put a walk off of this walk to the front of the building?
That's one of the
so the person can walk in there versus taking out all the lawn area in the front and the landscaping in the front.
Right, well, that was actually something we were arguing about.
I really don't think there's anything in the code that encompasses landscape, that encompasses growing things. It does not say, what it says is, all plans for the construction, alteration, change in existing color, repair, movement, or demolition of structures or of the sign, or of a sign or historic district shall first be submitted to the planning board. If somebody wants to change what's growing, they don't need a building permit, they don't need to come in, and there wouldn't be any review. And then I don't think there's anything in here that says that that is subject to review. I mean, I understand, you know, subjectively, yes, certainly you would think, you know, these are maybe parts of the, we have to live by the code. The code talks about structures and buildings. And I don't think there's anything in, and I think everyone would certainly acknowledge that if they weren't talking about the fence and the pavement, and they wanted to change what's growing, they wouldn't have to ask anybody. They wouldn't have to ask Aaron, they wouldn't come in here. They have complete right to change what's growing on the property with no review by the village whatsoever.
All right, now,
I mean, we do it, that's clear, right?
let me say the two things that I was looking at. Underneath the criteria. The purpose, and this was A, the purpose of historic overzone is to, among other purposes, is to, number 2 was, protect building structures and areas within the district. I look at this as an area, which are recognized as historic sites and landmarks. It's an area associated with the historic site and landmark. Okay? And the other thing is to foster civic beauty. Okay? Civic beauty can also be viewed as landscaping, in my mind.
I don't read it the same way.
Okay, well,
Because
that's...
I think, yes, those are objectives, but then it tells you what you were allowed to deal
Right,
with.
and number 5 says, the importance of historic, architectural, or other specific features to the significance of the property. Now, significant feature to me is landscaping to an historic property. I would not disagree.
I agree that it is significant, but it's not in the code. And that's
This is the determination.
Landscaping is not in the code.
But it's a specific feature of significance to the property. That's what our determination is made on.
Right, but if they didn't even, they could go right now and change all the landscaping, and no one would have anything to say about it.
So, okay,
Right? I mean, that is
I have
true.
another question. Does anybody on this board know where we live?
Yes,
Do you know where we live?
yes,
Do you remember what our house looked like before we bought it?
somewhat.
What do you remember about it?
No, I mean, I don't remember colors.
Was there a porch?
I don't remember. Oh,
Was
no,
there-
there wasn't. No, there
There
was.
wasn't. Was there a very high hedge all around the property that they...
That I don't remember.
All right. Anybody who has seen the house from before and what it looks like now would not be asking these questions about landscaping, I guarantee you that.
See,
Now it looks like an old Victorian house.
See, one of the things that has been in the discussions, I could kind of understand what you're saying, or understand the aspect of what the attorney is saying, if, like you had mentioned, the fact about bringing the walk across where the window is, and taking out the hedges and putting in flower boxes. I think that would, versus putting stone on the whole front lawn. Leave the lawn, leave the house, carry the walk across, take the hedge out front, so that people can walk right up and look at the window. Use the 2 areas on either side to put a sandwich board. There's only 12 and a half feet, based on my counting the blue stones, from the sidewalk in the front of the building to the bay window. 12 and a half feet, that's all there is. If a person walked in and could walk over to the window and look in the window, it would do the same service to you as it would be taking out the lawn.
Only if those bushes around the window are removed.
And I said, that's one of the things I said. If the bushes around the window removed and you put flower boxes in, that keeps the
I
character.
have an argument.
Okay, well then,
So I think we need to, we need the previous decision that was made, because I think it would benefit not only the applicant, but also the board to understand understand what the previous decision was, and hopefully at that application there are some photos, because that might also aid the applicant in understanding what's previously there. And so I think we are no longer being objective here, Francis, on this application, and I think we should get that additional information, and we can't really go forward with this application tonight without that information.
I mean, I don't want to discourage you in terms of the use of that building. I think the things we talked about, in terms of what I think you agree with, if the site plan was revised to show the walk, the hedges taken out, maybe the fact of using those two wing-type things on either side of the walk for sandwich.
We never were going to pull those out.
Well, I know you weren't, but I looked at that as a way to continue in without being impeded by having a sandwich board on the one side, because there's space on the walk, and a mannequin on the other side, to draw even further attention to get someone coming. You understand what I'm talking about? Do you?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right, so then, with things said, I'll make a motion that we table the application until the next meeting.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's been tabled.
At the next meeting, we would like to bring in description of a sign for your approval. I had it in here that we would do that.
So the application should be updated then to include the sign information?
Yes.
Of
Yes.
the proposal.
Well, it's not on the current application, though, the sign is, so the application needs to be updated to include the sign, which you're gonna come back next month, so I would get the sign application part of it added so that we can review the sign at that
Okay,
time.
that was my
Yeah,
question.
go to the building inspector, ask her to modify the existing application to include a sign.
Okay.
Include all the information that's supposed to be with the sign in terms of colors and size, and two faces. And the location is gonna be the same location, existing posts. Okay, and if you're so inclined to revise the site plan so that the walk is and the shrubs are taken out, I think that would make it easier for me.
Well, the path up to the door is not going to be changed.
No, again, I'm not saying that
He wants a side path in front of
From the window.
on the windows.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
So we're gonna get the previous decision on that property from the archives and make sure that you have a copy of it. So the planning board gets a copy of it, you get a copy of it, so we're all on the same page about what previous decision was made about that property. So we make sure that whatever Francis is remembering is accurate.
And the basis for those decisions.
Exactly. Okay?
I'm saying that.
And your landscaping consultation could happen after this meeting?
I should admit, when I drew these things, I was freaking out. I was trying to get pictures that would be useful to you in the time I was trying to do it. So I don't take a great deal of credit for that.
And I was actually never at the window anyway, so we were already in discussion about that.
Not second.
I mean, I understand, Charlie, from a business point of view, as I understand, as Leslie said, people like to walk up and look in the window. And I think that having them walk up and go over so you can look in the window when the business is closed, I mean, one of the things I always told businesses, keep a light on in the window. It's good advertising, and particularly good advertising in the theater.
Have you seen my current window?
Yes.
I mean,
Thank you very much.
Okay,
We look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
this has been really helpful. I appreciate it.
Okay, we have one last application, and then the minutes to approve. The application we have before us is from Melissa T. Van Alstyne regarding, it's not a subdivision, it's a lot line adjustment. It's listed as a subdivision lot. It is actually a lot line adjustment for 4 parcels. Please come to the board.
this is as loud as she can get, so don't ask her to talk louder.
It doesn't involve chain link fences. It doesn't involve Victorian fences, fires.
Sit down, will you? Come on, this is bad. Yeah, you know what, I think Starks, and Starks were in that building, I remember as a kid, going in there with Joe Frisco. Going up
Let's
the
focus, let's focus.
I'll talk to you about this.
There's no fun in that.
We gotta focus, guys.
Some people are watching.
They've been here all night, and so are we.
Sorry.
Okay, so explain to the board what you're doing.
What? Elizabeth would like to be, there is she owns a 8.122 acre parcel, and a portion of it is in the village of Chatham, and a portion is in the town of Ghent. And the portion that's in the village of Chatham, she seeks to affect 4 adjoining boundary adjustments with parcels that are at 59, 61, 63, and 65 Payne Avenue. 59 owned by Peter and Mary Minahan, 61 owned by Deborah and Layton, 63 by Howard and Marcus Sklar, and Diana Semplier and Mark LaPire at 65. And these parcels would accomplish, apparently, the property owners there were under the impression that their lots are actually deeper than they are, and so there was some area of occupation by these property owners. So to eliminate that,
I see some sheds.
yeah, eliminate the encroachment and the occupation, decided to just extend this boundary southerly till it intersects the south boundary of her property, which borders the Greenberger baseball field, and everything between these lots and this new division line would become property of these respective adjoining owners. So that's what she wishes to do.
Where's the line?
The line now is the dash. And
Here.
There's no new frontage, it's simply a path.
Yep.
There's
And
pain.
They've always,
they've used it.
Here, you can see
this is
this.
actually all part of this.
Right, this whole thing, it's tax parcel 66-125, 66-17-02-39.
This one in the village is shaped like this.
Exactly. Yep. Bingo. But it's all one parcel. So,
It's basically like it's been before. It's a simple lot line adjustment. When you
But
said
there's
one
4.
property, there's 4. And it's not a case of we're creating any new building lots,
No.
because this is
Everything will
get
be
to the lot and the frontage is here,
merged with and become part
The
of it.
remaining lot that's staying with her.
meets all the requirements for the village zoning in terms of density control schedule. It's over an acre in size, and it has access here, if you had access to that lot separately. It doesn't change anything, but increase the lot sizes of the 4 parcels.
And according to notes 5, 6, 7, and 8 on the map, that these parcels will be merged with and become part and parcel of
Right.
these other adjoining.
Well, that's the thing that has to be really clear, is that because those 4 people should basically party to this and sign on with their.
That's right. And did you bring those? Do you have those, or?
No, wait a minute, I have a question for you. When we did the lot line adjustment on Bushnell Avenue, you did not require
Yes,
the
you
property. Did you require the guy to come?
No.
They're not gonna come. That's all we need. Just, they just have to.
But Aaron has it, right?
They gotta be agreeable to this, so they are.
Yeah, they have to
they're the ones-
demonstrate.
But they're not the
Which
ones
is what
selling.
happened on Bushnell
No, but they
Avenue.
have to accept it, they
Okay.
And part of the agreement is.
I think it was in an email.
All right. Are there any questions on behalf of the board?
I do not have any questions.
No,
Okay.
no, I was just wondering about the neighbors and have they been informed about this? And,
Okay, let me just,
can't imagine.
They're getting bigger, they're getting bigger.
yeah, anytime you can increase your lot, particularly if you were using the lot.
So people let
Okay, so let me just state a few things and see where we're going. Okay, this is not a subdivision, it's a lot line adjustment. The board involving 4 parcels, 59, 61, 63, 65 Penn Avenue. And the property of Elizabeth T. Van Alstyne. At Elms. Okay. The 4 parcels are on Payne Avenue. Each will increase the size of the lot, but no more building lots shall be created. And the properties from which the lot line adjustment is made shall continue to remain in compliance with the village of Chatham density control schedule. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. As we did with the previous, there's 2 things. We're going to need the letter from those property owners indicating that you're buying into this. Okay. And we'll have to schedule a public hearing next month for that. Based on what's been said, it shouldn't take as long as it has already.
Do you want to put, how about a
I
sign?
think we need the actual contracts, yeah.
Do you want to put a sign? Chain link fences all around.
You can look at that, and we're very happy to talk.
You can, as long as it's 4 feet, you can put up a chain link fence. Yeah.
That's fortunate. State code says 4 feet.
No, our code says 4 feet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it has enough, you can see through it.
Okay, so do I have a motion to table this request
Make a motion to table.
to our next meeting?
Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion to table application.
No application.
There's no application. Tax map 66.17-02-39 until our next meeting, which is in November.
And schedule a public hearing.
And what?
We can schedule a public
And
hearing.
schedule a public.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, and schedule a public hearing for November.
I mean, I think they have to be notified of the public hearing.
They don't have to be here.
They don't have to show up. Yeah, but they have to receive notification of the public hearing. And the, so yeah, they don't have to show up.
Yeah, everyone who abuts the car, everybody who abuts any of these parcels.
And we need a second.
Anybody who abuts any of these parcels should get notification of the hearing.
So that means
For one person,
over here also?
Tunnels is in foreclosure?
No, they're not.
well, I think it's going to the bank.
Oh.
But the notification still has to go out. Yeah.
Irrespective.
They don't get it, their mail.
It just goes to whoever's on the tax record and says, and now it is the end. That's our policy.
Aaron takes care of it. You talk to Aaron.
She provides the
The
list,
address.
but I think that.
The applicant has to send them out, and they go like certified mail. And you have to bring in the receipts if they were mailed, the certified mail receipts. Right?
10 days prior.
10 days prior. Aaron will give you all of those.
It's not, it's not.
That shouldn't be in here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, thank you. I was talking, copy of it.
Okay. Come on. One more thing.
So we have minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from Monday, September 22nd, 2025.
I will second, I wasn't here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. The meeting is adjourned.